Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Indianapolis. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with William Huey Jensen. We're ready for the semifinals here. And this is, of course, going to put one of these two players, Brandon Semerau or Rob Pisano, into the finals. They are half of the bracket left in this tournament. We started with 1,900 players in the tournament. We've only got 4 left. And Rob's playing a red-green through the breach deck here. And, this is a kind of a Valakut variant at this point, right?
Yeah, we're at the point in the tournament now we have more Primeval Titans than players.
Indeed, indeed. And Rob representing half of those here. His opponent, Brandon Semerau, has brought a green-white Hate Bears deck with an absolutely critical turn 1 play here. He's got the Aether Vial.
Yeah, and like I said, decks with Aether Vial operate on like a different level in games where they play a turn 1 Aether Vial. Being able to play some of these Hate Bears at instant speed, like Leonin Arbiter is a really annoying card for Rob's deck. It's even more annoying when it comes in response to a fetch land, and all of a sudden you've not only been slowed down, you've lost the fetch land if you're not able to find something like a Lightning Bolt. You've lost a Sakura Tribal, or you can't play or search for tomorrow. I mean, these things are big.
It shuts off Primeval Titan half the time.
Right, yeah.
It's pretty big.
It is.
Like if they go through the breach for Primeval Titan and you're like, ahem, in response,
yeah,
it's really bad for them.
It is, yeah. And through the breach already cost 6 because of Thalia. And a lot of these cards and a lot of the strategy Rob is trying to employ are exactly what these bears are trying to hate against.
Now, this is kind of a delicate balance, though, for Brandon, as now he's got a second copy of Aether Vial, which is not so great.
No.
I mean, when your hand starts off with 2 copies of Aether Vial, that's 2 not creatures that you can't use to put them in. In the meantime, Pisano's just kind of working his way up the chain here, getting more lands onto the battlefield, which is the whole game plan for his deck, really. It's just all about getting lands from his deck onto the battlefield. Now, he's got an Obstinate Baloth here, which is fine.
Sure. Biggest creature on the battlefield.
Totally. It'll trump Brandon's creatures, generally speaking. Brandon tapping his Aether Vial. That is a...
I don't mind that play, except Rob's tapped out. So there's nothing really to bluff.
No, but that's like the classic Craig Wesco. It's a good habit. Now this starts so far pretty fair for Brandon, but he does have an Aether Vial on 2 that he could use at any time here. And he even has Leonin Arbiter in his hand, Huey.
Yeah, he does.
We could see some fireworks here if Rob goes for something big.
Like, if Rob did something like through the breach at Titan here, Arbiter just completely, like, I'll take 6. That's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah. You lose a Titan and through the breach.
Huge deal if he does it. He has a Primeval Titan in his hand. Let's see if he has the land. Now, Brandon's going to cash in half of his Kitchen Finks to prevent 4 and gain 2. And let's see what Rob does. Oh, he's thinking now. He knows what's up.
Now, on the flip side, just casting a Primeval Titan, if that gets arbitered, that's also annoying. But
it is. It really is. I mean, like if it gets
still
arbitered,
sits in play. He has an anger in his hand. On the following turn, he can anger and then attack. I mean, there's a lot to be done.
Yeah. The real question is if he goes tap out for Primeval Titan. Brandon goes Vial in and then goes untap Path. Like that is really bad for Rob.
That is really bad. But it's not as bad as through the breach Primeval Titan losing both your cards to a single arbiter.
Totally. So let's see if he's got it, because if he has Path here, then Brandon could be in decent shape. He did play the Arbiter. He did prevent Primeval Titan from searching. But if Rob gets to untap with that Primeval Titan, he can just pay the cost for the Arbiter, go search up lands, and this game's going to be over in a hurry.
Right.
It's kind of Path or no here for Brandon, and I don't think he's got it, Huey.
Yeah. Because obviously at this point, Rob is happy to pay 2 mana to be able to...
No problem.
Yeah.
I mean, now he can go search up Valakuts and then any mountains that he gets later, start chewing away at Brandon's life total or board state as he sees fit.
Right.
So that trigger goes up, and he is going to pay the 2 for the Arbiter.
Attacking and responding to the trigger with the Arbiter is actually the more precise way to do it, to avoid paying for the Arbiter and then having Brandon do something like Flicker Wisp the Titan so it doesn't get to attack, or path it before combat.
More mana efficient play, and there we go. A pair of Valakut the Molten Pinnacles have hit the battlefield for Pisano. He's already got 6 mountains, so every mountain he gets on the battlefield after this is going to do 6 damage wherever he wants. And it's not going to be pretty for Brandon. I don't see how he recovers from this.
Well, he's going to try to triple block.
Yeah. And a Lightning Bolt is going to break up that party. Yuck. Scavenging Ooze is going to do its best to offset. It's going to eat a Secure Tribe Elder here, but like,
yeah.
Is that enough?
Well, it gets to also eat the Arbiter. It seems like the Scavenging Ooze probably should have been the preferred bolt target, so Brandon would have been unable to continue to gang up on Primeval Titan.
Mm-hmm. In the meantime, the Titan does end up trading off, but again, here we go.
It's pretty good when every time you play a land, you get to do 3 damage to 2 targets.
Yes.
It's like a really powerful thing.
It's a massive understatement here.
Yeah. It's hard to lose to a deck that's named Hate Bears, as in Grizzly Bears, as in tutus, when all your lands kill 2 of them.
Yeah, this is going to be nearly impossible for Brandon to come back from, because the thing is, when you start to actually go through the deck, you realize that there's so few cards from Rob Pisano's deck that aren't either a land or a way to get it. Now, he stemmed the bleeding a little with the Ghost Corner here. So it's instead of 2, it's going to be 1.
Right.
I mean, excuse me, instead of 2 activations, it's going to be 1, so 3 damage. But still, it's not good.
But the Ghost Quarter even gets a Lightning Bolt out of Rob's deck.
Yeah, it does. And when you again, if you start just going down the list, you've got Search for Tomorrow. Yeah, that's damage. Secure Tribe Elder, yep. Farseek, yep. Primeval Titan, yep. Through the Breach, probably not.
No, Through the Breach is the
Bolt
bad
is
draw.
already a bolt, so it doesn't matter. Summoner's Pack, yeah, that's good. Oath of Nissa probably finds one of these that does it. Pian Cure Nalar would be good. Obstinate Bale is one of the few not great draws in his deck, and it's even still fine.
It's already in play.
Yeah, and it's in play anyway. And then all of his lands outside of a pair of forests and I guess that's it, just a pair of forests and the Anger of the Gods. I mean, 80+% of his deck is just instant
Bolts,
damage and death, yeah. It's going to be really tough for Brandon to come back from this. He's also getting piled on by that Obstinate Baloth as well.
Second Valakut, not the absolute best draw, but still fine.
Yeah.
Third Valakut, I guess. Second one in play.
Mm-hmm. Of note here, Rob does play the full 4 Valakut the Molten Pinnacle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not everybody does that.
No, a couple of players we've seen
I don't think Scott
played
had 4.
3. He's got 3.
Scott had 3, yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's a Bloodstained Mire for Rob. So that's damage as well. And Brandon does have a Flicker Wisp that he wants to use here. He did let the Obstinate Baloth attack first, though, but now he's just going to go ahead and flicker it. So Rob will get 4 more life, but Brandon won't take any damage this turn from that. And so he's just going to end his turn here and replay the Obstinate Baloth and pass, but Brandon maintains his life total at 13. Wow, he actually moved that vial up to 4. And I think he found a Kasali Pride Mage, maybe.
So Vial's on 4 and 3.
Yeah, there's 6 damage.
Yeah. I mean, Rob is representing 12 at least with just the Sakura Tribe Elder and Bloodstained Mire.
And it looks like he's going to go for Gavany Township. First, he's going to activate his Stirring Wildwood to get a counter on that, but he's looking to trade. He's trying to make the Flicker Wisp a 4-powered creature.
Yeah, and this looks like a misstep from Rob. He's
He just got rid of that.
just going to use a land now to kill it to keep his Obstinate Baloth around. He might as well have just done it before combat.
Cost him 4 damage.
Yeah, you're not saving anything against a Restoration Angel, right, because of the Vial. Like, he just gets to block an Angel if you do it this way. The other way, he can Angel and prevent you from attacking, but what's the difference? You've already lost the damage in this scenario anyway.
Okay. So we'll see. If Rob still seems to be in a commanding enough position that it shouldn't matter. But you don't want to give away anything. And it looks like he's just going to go ahead and scoop them up here. So Rob Pisano with his red-green through the breach Valakut Primeval Titan deck. Quite cleanly taking care of Brandon Semerau, who looked like he had a pretty decent start with the Aether Vial, but it kind of sputtered out after his Leonin Arbiter died.
Right.
Take a look at Pisano's deck here. Red-green through the breach. You can see how it works. This is very much a Valakut the Molten Pinnacle themed deck.
Yeah, that's basically the way the deck wins. I mean, even with Primeval Titan, it wins. Primeval Titan can do a lot of damage. It's 6/6 trample, but of course it wins by putting a couple Valakuts into play, attacking, getting a couple mountains, doing 12, and turning all your mountains into double lightning bolts. All your lands into double lightning bolts, your search spells into double lightning bolts, just like we saw in that game.
And you can see, that there's a nice little curve here. You've got the turn 1 search for tomorrow. If not, you can play the Secure Tribe Elder on turn 2 or a Farseek, both of them accomplishing very similar goals to each other. Some defensive cards in here as well. They've got the 4 Lightning Bolts, the 1 Anger of the Gods, a couple of P and Kirin Nalars, which can do good work on defense or offense. And then there's the 3 Summoners Pact and the 4 Through the Breaches to help get those Primeval Titans into play. That's what it's all about. It's so hard to win once they get one of those in play. Whether they cast it naturally or through the breach it just sets up that chain, again, of making basically every card in your deck live and a win condition. Very difficult deck to beat if you just let it go right up the chain. Now on the other side, green-white Hate Bears. This is a popular deck in the sense that people love these type of decks.
Yeah.
But they rarely have big success in Modern.
I can't think of a tournament that was won by green-white Hate Bears, but
I don't think it's ever won a GP, at least not one that I've covered. But really cool to see one make the top 8.
Really powerful cards.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that Brandon gets a chance to really show this deck off here in one of these games and show some of the really powerful things. If you've ever played against this deck, it's very unnerving. It's so you're like, do I crack my fetch right away? I always just chicken out and just crack it right away because I don't want to get blown out by some Aether Vial thing or whatever.
Right.
And then there's also a lot of your opponent pointing at their cards when you're like, I'll cast this, and they're like, I have Athalia, and you're like,
actually that costs 2 more, and you can't target my creatures.
And you can't target my creature.
And also today ends in Y, so you can only play that at odd hour times or whatever.
Yeah. And then they path your guy, and you go for your library, and they're like, Leonin Arbiter, and you're like, right, of course. You do a bunch of math and pass a turn, and then the thing their flicker was came back, and you're like, all right, that stupid thing. And
right.
But ultimately, it is interesting because while these are kind of powerful in a compact way, this is not one of those over-the-top decks. It's very sequence-dependent. It needs the right things at the right time to shut you down. And then it combines that with the fact that all of its disruption basically comes in the form of creatures, which can, of course, then attack you and get you dead in a relative hurry. But it's really a sequencing thing. If you're on the play with this deck and you can get that Arbiter down or Athalia down, you can really set your opponent back multiple turns. But
yeah, especially these kind of decks, all spell decks, where Thalia really slows a full turn almost. Three Anger the Gods really strong in this matchup, though. 4, 3 in the sideboard plus the 1 in the main deck for Rob.
Yeah, very much so. All right, so we move on to game 2. Rob looks to the skies, maybe for assistance. But it does look like he's ultimately decided to keep his hand. Yeah, I don't have a particular vested interest in who exactly wins the match, right? I'm not rooting for either player,
Right.
but I really do want to see this Hate Bears deck kind of show off some of the cool things it can do. It is a deck we don't see that often at
It's
the
true.
top 8, you know. All right, Noble Hire, good start for Brandon.
Not an Aether Vial, though.
Not an Aether Vial, though. He's got a Scavenging Ooze that he just drew.
This is really not the matchup for Scavenging Ooze.
No.
Little to no effect. Most of
Painfully fair in this
fair,
matchup.
most of Rob's best removal exiles anyway.
So instead of playing it, he's going to lead with the Leonin Arbiter, which makes a lot of sense. Rob immediately cracks his fetch land in response like you do. And there's a Secure Tribe Elder now.
Don't
for Rob
stack it at
Pisano.
end of turn.
No, it's a little awkward.
Attack for 3.
Nothing from Brandon.
Maybe a Resto Angel. Protect the Arbiter.
That would be nice.
So the Arbiter shuts off twice, right?
You have to pay 2 mana and then you're free and clear
entire
for the turn.
turn,
That's
right.
right. Yeah, it was a Restoration Angel. But how awkward is this for Rob? Does he just crack now? It looks like
No,
he's
I
thinking about
think
it.
you can't. I think it's a different effect. I think you now have a different Arbiter preventing libraries from being searched. And, like, the 2 that's been paid was
Do you mean after it gets blinked?
right. So what Rob did was he went, I'll sack my Secure Tribe Elder. In
Yeah.
response, I'll pay for the Arbiter's ability
Okay.
so that I ignore this effect.
Until the end of
Okay,
turn.
Until the end of turn.
Uh-huh.
In response to that, Brandon says, I'll play Restoration Angel targeting Arbiter. A new Arbiter comes into play granting this effect.
If that ability had resolved, yes, which is
Right.
what's happened
no,
here.
even though it hasn't resolved. Mm-hmm. So the other ability hasn't
No, you're
resolved.
right.
So there's a new effect preventing it.
Yes.
So the 2 mana that's been paid is now ignoring the old Leonin Arbiter's effect.
Yes.
And Rob is unable to search his library.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Arbiter charging double tax here.
Right.
Wow.
So like right now,
Brutal.
while Brandon is tapped out, Rob could try to avoid another Restoration Angel.
And yeah, and the crazy part is that he didn't even get to do his Bloodstained Mire there either because
Right.
that payment was never processed, as it were. Huh. See, this deck just makes me nervous.
Yeah.
You don't wanna
Like,
do
all of a
anything.
sudden, like, what's going on?
Like,
can't
I
fetch,
paid
have
you.
no lands. Yeah.
I paid the cost of entry here. I want in. And it doesn't work that way.
All right, Linvala will keep keep that Secure Tribe Elder on permanent lockdown.
So that's Linvala, the Preserver down there.
The Preserver, yep. No, that's Keeper of Silence. Preserver's the new one, the 6 mana.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Keeper of Silence. Not seeing a lot of preserving happening in Modern with Linvala, but
No.
a lot of silence is kept, though. Yeah, at Standard, sure, you can see her pop up, but
She's good in Standard. I like
this card's amazing, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Looks pretty good against the
I
board
feel
that
bad
Rob's
for Rob.
paid.
He's like, I can't
I
cast my
don't.
spells. I can't.
He's
use
up
my,
a game,
I can't
man. Don't
get-
sweat
I
it.
know. But it's just like, I can't cast my spells. I can't sack my fetch lands.
He did pay to sack this one
Yeah.
here.
I can't sack my Tribe
Got to pay the
Elders.
tax, man. And he's going to go off here and cast 2 different spells that search the library. But as you can see, even when he's able to do it, it's costing him, significant amount of mana here, and putting a real dent in his development plans. And Rob's going to pass the turn back to Brandon, who has assembled quite a little army here. Ooh, Gavany Township. Is it enough? He's going to block the Arbiter.
It does force a block.
Yeah.
It does force a chump.
But he only takes 8 in the air and goes to 1.
Right.
And he can't do anything with it either because it'll involve. So now Brandon just says, yeah, well, I have 2 lethal threats either way, so there's no big reason. I think he's got maybe another Restoration Angel in his hand as well.
Knocks his deck, though. I'm not sure what he's hoping for.
Yeah, the Leonin Arbiter even turns cards like Primeval Titan to a lot more fair. Anger of the Gods not an out here either. Obstinate Baloth.
Not enough.
Not good enough. It will trigger, though. But if Brandon just wants to activate his Gavany Township, he can attack for 8 in the air. Brandon's considering if he'd rather do that or play a Restoration Angel, which would also give him lethal in the air. All right, and Rob says, yep, that does give you lethal, and we're going to go to game 3. And, I got what I wanted. I mean, that was just that Arbiter just messing with things.
Yeah.
And then that trick
the
with
Arbiter
the
alone.
Yeah, the Arbiter was incredible. And then that trick with the Restoration Angel and the timing of it, too. That was no Aether Vial either.
Right.
That is so annoying to play against.
Yeah, it
it
really
really is.
So interestingly, that time, with the Resto trick, it turns out that Rob would have been better off not doing not sacking the Elder and paying in response, but rather paying, letting it resolve, and sacking the Elder, because then at least with the Restoration Angel, he could have sacked the Bloodstained Mire.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike the previous time when he was worried about just an instant like other Arbiter or something because there were Aether Vials involved.
Corey Crowfoot, please come to the announcements desk on the main stage. Corey Crowfoot.
So once more, players will be consulting sideboards as they wind their way down on the semifinal match. Who do you like here in the last one? This one, of course, is going to have Rob on the play.
I like Rob.
Yeah,
I like the scape
I do.
shift.
I do too. I'm glad we got to see what the Hate Bears deck did, but it's going to be. I'm really curious to see if he can put together another win post board on the draw here against Rob. Hate Bears deck's really sneaky too because it is not one of the more popular decks in Modern.
No, it's not.
So like those interactions, a lot of people just don't know them.
Oh yeah.
You
Also,
know.
they're kind of complicated.
They
Like,
are.
new arbiters creating different search bubbles and
Wow. Looks like you and I not aligned with the Twitter faithful here. They think that that Brandon's going to take this thing down. And we'll see who's right in just a minute.
What's up?
Players just getting ready here for their third and deciding game to see who gets to go in the finals.
Rob will be on the play.
Yeah, he'll be on the play this time.
That's big.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah. He didn't draw any removal in that game, which really was.
I know a lightning bolt
not
goes a
lightning
long
bolt,
way.
Not
you
an
know?
anger the gods.
Especially because, as we were mentioning, a lot of the hate bears from Brandon's deck don't really mess with Rob super much. You know, like
that
he has
one
a
does.
pride mage, you're like, whatever,
Yeah,
you can
who
have
cares?
it. But
Yeah, have it. Yeah.
you need the bolt for the one that really matters.
That
the
one and the
Thalia.
Thalia, yeah. Anything
The
else?
Arbiter. Also, you mentioned it before, but the anger of the gods in Rob's deck is pretty devastating as well.
Sure.
Okay, let's see if Rob and Brandon have keepers here, and we're going to figure out who's going to be in the finals. Is it going to be Through the Breach? Is it going to be Hate Bears?
It's going to be a mulligan from Brandon.
Okay. Nobody likes the mulligan, but would you say this Hate Bears deck okay mulligan or pretty punishing?
I think pretty punishing. I think
I do
decks
too.
where your cards are so low power, it hurts. I mean, your best card, Aether Vial, has, you know, in a hand after you mulligan with Aether Vial and a couple lands, you don't even have that many
Not
cards
a lot of
left.
action left. Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes you just don't draw lands. What are you going to do?
Okay, let's take a look at the 6 here for Brandon Semerau. And it looks like we got to keep. All right. Untapped Stomping Ground means one thing. Search for tomorrow. Oh, easy there. I've got an update from our other match as well. Brandon, Sandy Dog Burton,
Yep.
Sandy Dog MTG. He's in the finals.
Nice. Good for him.
He won 2-1. So the winner of this game will be playing against that Nia Burn deck of Brandon Burton in the finals of this GP. Great stuff from Brandon.
Wow, Rob putting in a second untapped Stomping Ground. Do you think that's telling? I think it's telling that he might have a need for 2 green mana.
He's got a mountain in his hand.
Yeah. He doesn't want to search for tomorrow for basic forest because that doesn't contribute towards Valakut.
Okay, well, now here we go. Here's a Thalia. Now, when this Search for Tomorrow comes off of Suspend, he's going to have to pay an extra.
Sure is.
But the good news for him is that he's untapped and he can just do that.
Yeah.
Let's see if it slows him down at all. The coast is clear for the Secure Tribe Elder as well to go get a land when he wants. No shenanigans afoot for Brandon. Brandon has kind of an interesting cut method there.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one before.
The curse cut.
Yeah, we'll see. There's a Bloodstained Mire for Pisano. Things have been moving nicely upward. He does need a payoff card here at some point. Primeval Titan, a Through the Breach, something like that. Maybe even a Summoner's Pact to go find the Titan. And Thalia's going to attack. Rob Pisano is just going to go ahead and chump block and then sacrifice his Elder to go get a Mountain.
So at the end of turn, if Rob chooses to sacrifice Bloodstained Mire, he does have the requisite 5 mountains if he's able to get some delegates in play. So any further mountains will be lightning bolts.
Right, of course. Brandon has a Flicker Wisp. That is one of his better attackers. He's going to play another Noble Hierarch and then pass.
So that middle land is a Tectonic
It's a Tectonic Edge, that's right. He can use that to interrupt potential Valakut action by taking him off of a mountain or just destroying the Valakut depending on what the situation is. It did look like he decided to take him off of both numbers of lands and also a mountain, also one of his green sources here. So that was Brandon's plan for that turn there. He could have played a Flicker Wisp instead, but he decided that this was going to be better for him. Nothing. Rob Pisano, again, he had a good start. Search for Tomorrow, secure a Tribe Elder, but seems to have sputtered a little bit here. And now that's 4 damage a turn coming in from Thalia. This is getting interesting.
Unfortunately for Brandon and the Bears, I think that it's prime time.
Next turn?
I think so.
Yeah, he was trying to keep him off of it.
Yeah, but what are you going to do?
Yeah. He bought himself an extra turn and has Rob down to 10, but if it's going to be Primeval Titan here, that is bad news for Brandon Semerau. In order to cast a Primeval Titan, though, he's going to have to sacrifice the Bloodstained Mire first, then play a land.
He's like, no, don't worry. I'll be using that again.
Yeah, don't put too much effort into that cut, because there it is, Primeval Titan.
So I can get a Valakut and a mountain. I'd be inclined, I guess it depends on my hand, but my initial instinct is I'd be inclined to get a Valakut and a mountain and pick off the 2 Hierarchs.
Mm-hmm. That would leave Brandon Semerau with just the pair of lands down there, really crimp his ability to deploy more stuff. Yeah, I like your line there. Let's see what he does. He did the first part of what you said. He got another Valakut and a mountain, in this case a Stomping Ground.
He has a Summoner's Pact, which gets a second Titan. Maybe it's too risky.
What is?
Killing the Hierarchs.
Why is it risky?
Well, if Brandon's able to path your Titan and attack you for 5, maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, I do like the play. I think it's good. I think even if Brandon has path with the second Primeval Titan in your hand, you're fine.
You're fine anyway.
Yeah.
Basically can wipe the board again.
And path takes 2 mana because of Thalia, so it will use Brandon's whole turn.
Yeah, with an untapped land there, Brandon could get the Primeval Titan out of the way temporarily with a Flicker Wisp. The problem is it comes right back, and then your board's gone.
Yeah,
right?
it comes right back and does 12 to you, then attacks and kills you.
Yeah, it's just very difficult for Brandon to realistically manage that Primeval Titan without Path to Exile. And he's just going to attack.
It's kind of an interesting attack. The attack can make Rob think, well, maybe Brandon has a 3-mana spell that he can't cast because of Thalia. But on the other side, maybe the Fink's putting Brandon to 22, requiring the 8th trigger of Valakut instead of only 7.
Could be the difference.
Frankly, I don't think it matters. If Rob blocks neither, tries to block both and gets a GRV, I think he's going to win no matter.
He ended up blocking neither, and it's just a Scavenging Ooze.
He has a summoning pact, for another Primeval Titan in hand.
Has to be game then.
Yeah. Unless, 6 mountain, 2 Cinderglade, 4 Stomping Ground, 1 Sacred Foundry.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is that, the old Scape Shift list used to be able to run out of mountains,
Right.
but this one can't.
So
Not-
it looks
not in
like
the
he
same
put his
way.
3rd and 4th Valakut into play.
He did absolutely do that. So now each one does 12.
Right, so
and he
another
just- he
Primeval
just
Titan
packs
just
for
gets 2
Titan,
mountains.
yeah.
It does cost 1 to pack for Titan.
And he's got the mana for it.
You can also play a land and cast Farseek. Yeah, I mean,
GG.
GG.
It looks like Rob Pisano is going to be the one to face down Brandon Burton in the burn deck
Good
in the
run for
finals
Brandon
here.
Semerau here.
Yeah,
with
fantastic
Hate
stuff
Bears.
from Brandon. What a cool run with the green-white Hate Bears deck. He's got Brandon completely tapped out on mana here. And Brandon sees the writing on the wall. It's just going to chump block to take a little bit less damage, but it's not going to ultimately matter here as he goes, look, I'll show you a Farseek. I'll show you a mountain. This is the important part, and that's infinite damage. And Brandon Semerau falls to Rob Pisano. He wins 2-1 in our second semifinal, and he is going to face down Brandon Burton with the burn deck in the finals.
And Brandon Burton, just defeated Scott Lipp, which means the matchup probably is okay.
I think it's probably pretty good for him.
I think so too. Yeah.
We saw in the main deck for Rob Pisano, he's got the one Obstinate Baloth, which is a nice little catch-all. Just
Sure.
like, oops, gain 4,
Gain
right?
4.
But it's one copy.
Right.
And
1 more in the sideboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the burn deck.
Yeah.
I do, and Brandon Burton again. You'll know him as Sandy Dog MTG on Magic Online.
He knows how to play burn.
He knows how to play burn.
Yeah.
He's played it at the Pro Tour. He's had a great run at the Pro Tour as well.
Yep.
I like his chances here to win a GP.
I do too. I'm going to be honest.
Now Rob's not going to make it easy on him.
No, of course not.
But if we're talking matchups here, there's just not a lot of interaction from Rob's side, and his deck does take a few turns to set up. I'll tell you what, there's going to be a lot of damage flying around, from Valakuts and lightning bolts in the finals. It could go by quickly. I urge you to stick with us. You're not going to want to leave it.